Hey, it's Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and it is Wednesday. It is October, I believe today is the 28th. Yes, Wednesday, October 28th. This will be our chart lesson for today. And real quickly before we get started, uh, I had my eye surgery yesterday. Uh, Everything went well. I will still have double vision in that eye for a couple of days, as it takes a few days for that to wear off. So even though I can actually already see the screen. I'm not wearing any glasses, any corrective lenses, or any contacts or anything now, and I'm seeing the screen really well. So, but it will take a few more days before that kind of that double vision tends to wear off. Uh, so I'm not 100% yet. I didn't trade today. I probably won't trade this week. At least uh, I may trade a little Friday if I'm seeing better by then, but I'm guessing I'm probably just going to take the rest of the week and not trade and wait till Monday because you need to be able to see clearly to trade, obviously. And while I am seeing better, it's hard for me to look at the screen very long. So I'm having to take a lot of breaks and rest. And I'm just reading a little bit here and there and then taking short breaks. And I'll probably do that the remainder of the week. And then hopefully by Monday, I'll come back and really be back to normal. So I am not trading and won't trade probably the rest of the week. So I'm looking at all this after the fact. Obviously, I looked at the chart this morning and I've kind of glanced at it over the day, but I'm not watching it like I normally do because it's just difficult for me to do and my eyes get tired too quickly. So I do have to strain a little bit to see clearly. And while it doesn't affect my eyesight, the doctor said that's fine to look at the screen and to, but it gives me headaches, and so it's just not comfortable. Basically, is the bottom line. So I'm gonna look at the screen. I'm gonna try to do the chart lesson each afternoon. Well, actually tomorrow's Thursday, so tomorrow will be the last day. So I'm gonna do this one today. I'm probably gonna move through it quickly. There's a lot of trades today. It was a real strong downtrend, but I'll probably move through these trades pretty quickly, and then uh, tomorrow we'll do the same, and then of course no chart lessons on Fridays, and then hopefully by the time we come back Monday I'll be back to normal. So I'm not going to waste a lot of time on that, but I wanted to kind of update you and let you know that the surgery went well. Um, I went back for a follow-up appointment this afternoon, and they gave me the thumbs up, said everything looked perfect. I didn't even have any blood. Last time I had a bloody spots in my eye and the whites of my eye that stayed there for weeks, and I didn't even have any bloodshot. My eyes weren't even bloodshot this time. So um, evidently it went much smoother and much easier than my first go round. So of course the other eye is the one I had the detached retina in, and that's the one where I had the most serious injury. But anyway, um, it looks like I'm going to get my vision back to almost normal, and I feel blessed for that because as a trader, one of the most important things you need is your vision, especially as a price action chart reader, because if you can't see the charts, you can't do what we do. And so I feel very blessed that I'm going to pretty much get normal eyesight back almost. So I've talked to a lot of people and a lot of doctors that tell me that not everybody that has a detached retina ends up as lucky as I did. Some people lose their vision there. If you don't correct those really quickly, my understanding is the retina loses its blood flow and it dies real quickly. So it has to be repaired. And mine was repaired within 24 hours. And I actually went to the Charles Retina Institute in Memphis, and he's world renowned for being one of the best retina uh, doctors. He developed so many. He actually developed the procedure that I had done, and it worked really well. So I feel blessed that I was close. I mean, that was only an hour from me, and people flying from all over the world to have him take care of their eyes, from what I understand. So anyway, let's get back to the chart. I wanted to just kind of update you on my progress, though, and so I believe that very shortly, within a week or so, I'll be back to normal with better eyesight, almost perfect eyesight. So anyway, actually, I keep trying to back out here before I talk about the big chart. And you can see clearly we were in a strong downtrend until uh, late morning. where we had this break and we moved to a new low, and then we trended up slightly after that. I was looking at this as possibly sideways, but you can see later on it was obvious we were trending up. We were still getting some resistance across here, but we're in an uptrend, and I think you're better off to play this green uptrend. You had to be aware of both of them because you can see it playing off that midline of the range, and you can see it turning down up here. So, but you can also see this channel working up, and then we had an overshoot and it sold off again. So it was pretty much perfect price action. Notice we had a break. We tried to make a new low there. We didn't quite get one. We traded up and came back and finally got it. And then really from about 12 o'clock or so, well into 2 o'clock, we trended up. And later that afternoon, we sold off again. So anyway, let's back out and we'll talk about the trades. And we'll wrap this day up. Again, I'm going to move through these pretty quickly because I had to look at this chart a while just to get through this chart, and I want to get it up. I know last week I was really late getting them up, and I want to get them up on time today, especially since we didn't have one yesterday. So back out a little more here. Somebody actually posted a question here. The second entry actually triggers right here when prices broke below, but I wasn't sitting here when this happened, but I believe prices broke lower, turned up, and then turned back down. And so if you entered on the break lower, you probably got stopped out of this only to see the trade work out. One key is this bar closed at 6:54, and I normally don't start trading till 7, and so by the time this bar broke lower, it was 7 o'clock, and you would have been okay on this bar, entering right here one tick below. So if you didn't start till 7, then you could have taken this trade and probably been okay. And I believe that it broke lower first and turned up and came down, but I don't know that. So if you traded earlier, you might have got stopped out of that one. And the only clue I can see is it's not really back to the trend line yet. It's close. It's still a second entry. So you may wait on a lower high and you don't really get one here because there's actually a lower high right here, but you're stacking up there, and that's not a good signal bar, and we just keep going sideways. So you don't really get that opportunity to enter on that one. And if you didn't enter on this one, you missed this move. But I talked about that to somebody in our forum today as well. If you miss a trade and it goes without you, don't even blink about it, because if you get upset that you missed a big move and you let that bother you, that's almost the exact same thing as letting a losing trade bother you. It will throw you off, it will mess you up, and you'll end up with a bunch of losing trades. So if you miss a trade, don't worry about it, especially this early in the morning, because another one will come along soon, I promise you. So we turned out, and actually at this point, we would have probably just been playing the yellow channel. You can see it looks like a spiking channel. It turns out there's a bigger channel here, but you really didn't get this swing until right here. So you would probably be only playing this yellow one at this point. And that does confirm the key entry point. But it's this big bar. This one doesn't really confirm it. Actually, I've got it drawn a little flatter than it probably is. It should be a little bit higher, like right there. And you can see that would have kept you out of that trade because it's not back to the key entry point yet. So that's one idea. Normally, and we always draw these the same way. You start at the very high and you go through the closes of the first swing, or the bodies. I shouldn't say closes, I should say the bodies, because it might be the open, it might be the close, but it's the bodies of the first swing. I've got a bad habit about saying the closes, and people always ask me, well, that would be down here, but what I'm insinuating is that you close off the bodies. So if you hear me say closes, it's just a bad habit, so it should be the bodies. And then that gets you in this trade perfectly here. And then we drop on down. But regardless, if you miss it, it's no big deal. There'll be another that comes along. And then there's a second entry short right here. Um, and that's clearly 2 legs back. You're a little bit away from the EMA. Um, there's a clear leg up. There's a clear leg down as well. So this is the first break of the down one. But on the one up, you've got a break and a new high in place. So that gives you that gives you enough of it meets enough of the rules that where you could go short there. It turns out that we go into a range here, but this still would have worked. So let me make this a little bigger. It's still a little small. So that's basically just the second entry short. First entry, second entry. And there's clearly 2 legs back, and that's to the midline. And the EMA, we're a little bit above the EMA, so you expect prices to pull back and test that EMA and probably the midline too, even if they're going higher. And of course, you'd want to draw this trend line just in case, but there's still plenty of room back. And turns out it's a quick, easy trade, and then we just kind of start working sideways here. I marked this trade. There's a double test here. You made that high. You test it once. You test it twice. It's a nice bearish bar. It's a lower high. So you might go short right there because this has been a downtrend so far. And it would have worked out, but you might have had to ride this out a little bit. The key is to make sure you got enough room to get out. I think you actually would have got out on that same bar, but you need to know that you'll get out there. I marked this one. It's a little aggressive, so because we could be in an uptrend here. And you can see we come down. We actually get a break here. I don't think you want to go long at all. So then we get a break out the top, and that's back to the key entry point. That turns down right off the key entry point. It breaks higher, turns, and goes out the other side all in one bar. It's an engulfing bar. There's plenty of room back to the lows, even if we're still in the range. So I like that one. Then you get a lower high that also turns down off the key entry point, the main down trend line. And again, you got plenty of room. Another good trade, and guess what? It goes higher. So you get the break and 2 legs up to a new high, and there's a couple of legs in this first leg, but if you measure that one, you can see we got a little more than a measured leg there. We actually went up here and got that one extra push up, and then it turns down. And it's hard to know exactly if this is over yet, so I wouldn't go short until I got a lower high, which is right here. And technically, notice we come down, we try to go higher once, and then you make another leg down, you try to go higher twice. It looks like a failed second entry long. It's still a lower high. It's off the key entry point. You would expect prices to try to make a new low, so I like going short right there. And that turns out to be a really good move. We work on down, and of course you want to draw this short-term trend channel too. And we just work sideways back across to it. And really, the way I'm trading this is the first break of this channel. It's a failed breakout of the high. So it's probably a good place to go. Notice how everything's under the EMA. It's a retest. Notice how we came back through and came back and test this trend line here on the original yellow channel. Lots of resistance above that. So I like going short there just to try to get that scalp if nothing else. And maybe it keeps on going, and this time it does. And then notice you get a first entry long and then a second entry long, and it turns down right off that key entry point again. So you may look at that as a trap. It's a little bit congestive, and we've already had a break here of the short term and a new low, and we've had a break of the yellow one and a new low. So there's some reasons to be concerned about going short there, but it is also is a trap, so it's probably going to push on down. And you can see how it drops down real quickly. It would have been another nice trade. And we come back, and we're actually just back inside this yellow channel again. And all of a sudden we get this repeat pattern. It looks exactly like this. Notice you move down, you get the little break, and then another little break, and it drops, and you get this repeat pattern. It's a perfect repeat pattern. Just go short right there. You actually have a little more room to get out on this one than you did this one too. And because it's a repeat pattern and you got enough room to get out, I marked this one red, and then off it goes. And then I marked this one too because it does confirm this new short-term kind of goldish color trend channel. But the main thing is, notice there's two legs down. So on a bigger picture, that's a failed second entry long. And I don't talk about that often, and we won't trade those often. But in a strong downtrend, when it confirms a trend channel on a tight channel like that, take that trade. If you like everything else, of course, and I do there. So then we just work sideways. We do get a break, and you get this big bearish bar with a matching high. So it's good enough for a signal bar probably. There's a lot of stem there, but you can just see we're working sideways, and there's support here. So I don't like that one. Wait on the lower high, which comes here, and it's not a good setup either. And then we bounce. Notice we got the break and a couple of moves down, and then we bounce. And you don't want to be going long yet. Notice we come back. Let me back out here and just show you this. Now we drew this other trend line off of this swing, and we come back to it right here. So that's important. We come back and pretty much confirm it right here. But notice you got this little channel working up. You get a close outside and you try to go higher, and it holds on that trend. This actually breaks higher, fails, and turns down and goes out the other side. I like that as a lower high engulfing bar. It actually comes back again here, and but not a good enough signal bar. You get a lower high here, but again, and it's mostly bullish, bearish. And we did break out and pull back and make a lower high, but I'm not trusting that yet. And notice we do come back and test it, but we don't break higher. Technically, it looks like two legs down and a failed second entry. So, but this is an inside bar, so I'd skip that one. And you just don't get a chance to enter this time. Then you get two legs back, but that's not a good enough signal bar. Way too neutral on the second entry. Wait on the lower high, which comes here, and then it's congestive looking again. If this would have broken higher and turned down, you could have gone short right there, but I don't think you want to go short below all that stem. And then we bounce. Now we've got a break of this green channel, and we do make a new low there. But that's not a real, for a trend that strong and that big, that's not a very convincing break. You would expect to at least get two legs down, but this thing bounces out of there. But I wouldn't be looking for any longs yet. And notice what happens. We make a little bit of a range right in here, really. The resistance is pretty standard, but the lows are not. So, but we make that high, we come back and we test it once, and then we shoot down and make a lower low, and come back and make another lower high and make a double test of that. So there's a triple test across there, which is a double test of that original high. Look how bearish that is. I like going short right there. And that's technically two legs down, so you could look at that as a failed second entry long as well. Runs on down. There's another pullback to this trend line right here, but that bar is just too big. Not a very good setup. And so now we've made a double bottom. We've had that break, and we came back and tested it again, and we've made really almost a triple bottom. So, and this was a big overshoot here. So when this pushes, notice how that shoots up and pushes right through the EMA, pulls back, goes higher, pulls back and tests it again and holds and gives you that failed. If we break higher there, we're probably going higher, at least back up to these highs, and we may reverse out of here. So that's the first, that's a really, I probably should make this green, but that is almost a textbook perfect reversal after getting everything you needed to the downside. And that's going to trap some people, I guarantee it. And you would have known not to go short there just because there's not even a setup based on our rules, because look at that signal bar. But the people that don't follow the rules or don't know the rules, they're going to get trapped to the downside. And if we break higher here, we're going to make another leg up at a minimum. And so measure that leg and look for that at a minimum. And so and you can see the smart traders that were just looking for a leg up all exited right there, but we continued higher. But, don't be greedy. That's a great place to exit on a measured move. That's probably exactly where I would exit. We do pull back a couple of times, but I don't see any reason to enter up here. This is not a good enough signal bar. This one you're getting a little ways away from the EMA. There's still some momentum there. No overshoot, no break of the trend line. It's just a first entry though, and if you draw your little short-term trend line, it's not telling you. And notice we do come back and try to make a new low before we go higher. So there's a first entry and then a little trap there. The only reason I didn't like this one is because you got to go long right into those highs, and it's probably going to act as a trap, but I don't think it's worth risking. And you can see because now you got a break and a new high, and if you break higher, you only got to go a tick or two above that to get a new high, which we did. Then you try to go higher once, twice, so there's you another double test. Nice bearish bar. I like going short there. I really would have thought that would take off. It doesn't, but it's still a good trade. And then finally, notice that's a new high. So first entry, and you actually make a little second entry long there. So there's a first entry, second entry, but I still like this as a breakout pullback short, and it looks like 2 legs down. And so I like going short there. Plus it confirms that trend line really. You got your 2 swings, then you come back, and you could draw this actually from here to look at so you got your 2 swings that set the trend line, and then you come back and test it right here. So I like that trade because we really didn't get a new low in place yet across here. You just made a double bottom. And you can see that it's not a convincing, people aren't convinced that this downtrend's over yet. Prices are going to come back and test it again. And notice after testing it again and making a new low, then we trended up a little bit. But anyway, we drop on down, and then you get a second entry here. This didn't quite get back to the EMA, and we did get an overshoot here, but this thing is so bearish, I don't see any reason not to take that trade. And we actually even make a failed second entry long here, but there's a little bit of support there. It still would have worked, but I'd wait on something better than that. And there's another reversal pattern here. Technically, notice you make your new low first entry, and your failed second entry really happened there. So that's technically not a failed second entry, but it's also right at the key entry point. So I don't think you want to risk going long there. And this quickly overshoots. But you do get a break. And notice that you can try to go lower 2 more times. So I like going long right there just to look for a retest of the high. And it ends up, after that, it ends up going sideways. So you just got to stay out of that. But notice what happens. We push down. We try to go higher once, twice. And really we got a trend line possibly working lower. So I like going short right there on that trap. And off it goes to the downside. And this is where it looked like we may be going to just go sideways. But technically we're working higher here. And you can see that. And you can see this midline's in play. You don't get a lot more trades here. We come down here and we bounce. And originally I had this drawn a little flatter down here. But notice there's 2 legs down. We bounce. And at this point, I'm still kind of looking at this as a range. And you just get a lower high off the range, still a long way away from the EMA. It looks a little congestive, but this has been a strong downtrend. And this is after 2 o'clock, but it's right there at the like 201 or something like that. I mean, it's not even 201. It's just right at 2 o'clock. So I like going short there if you want to go short there. Anything much past that, you want to let it go. But as this continues, you can tell this is an uptrend here. So, but really at this point, I was still playing this as a range. So anyway, that's what I saw today, and I feel like I rushed through there, but it still took 25 minutes. So a lot of trades today, very strong trend, especially to this point right here. After that, it got a little harder, but there's still a lot of shorts in here. Notice I think there were two longs where we had a possible reversal. So anyway, I'm not going to beat around the bush. My eyes are bothering me here, and I'm getting a little tired. So I'm going to wrap this up. We'll be back again to do it tomorrow and wrap up our week. Hope you had a good trading day. I hope you took advantage of this downtrend. And we don't get a lot of strong downtrends like this, so take advantage of them when you can. But I'm going to wrap it up. We'll be back again to do it tomorrow. I'm done for today. This is Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll see you next time.